Let's start with prayer. Father, I do want to thank you for our time together today and for the trip that I got to take. And Lord, as I relate the things that happened, and Father, as we look at the purpose of the trip and what was accomplished, Lord, I pray that Lord, it would be your message through all of this that comes through. Again, I thank you, Lord, and I pray that we would hear from you this morning. And we pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, well, y'all know it's going to be a little different this morning. Y'all know I just got back from mission trip, and it was scheduled for March 25th through April the 7th, and I got back just in time for Palm Sunday and Easter, so that's why we've put off the mission report. Now, I say it was scheduled for that time because things didn't exactly work out on this trip, and we'll talk about that as we go through this. Go ahead. So I went to, and I forgot to bring my little light thing. So anyway, I went to Sierra Leone, and I was supposed to go to Liberia as well in order to teach. This was my third trip to Sierra Leone and my fifth trip to would have been my fifth trip to Liberia. And the thing that I need to say about this is, we make our plans, right? And there's an old Yiddish saying that man makes his plans and God laughs. Okay? Well, guess what? We made our plans and God changed them. So even though we make our plans, Jesus told us to plan. He said, if you're going to build a tower, you have to plan for it. You have to estimate the cost. You have to be ready to put everything into it that you need to. And so we are to plan. Things are not just supposed to be haphazard. But at the same time, we need to be ready for God to change our plans. Just like Paul did when he was going on his second missionary trip and God wouldn't let him go into Asia. He told him to go. He sent the vision of the man from Macedonia, right? And changed Paul's mind, moved Paul, and it changed all of Macedonia. That's where he met Lydia, and she started a church, and the church in Ephesus was formed, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we have to be ready for God to change our plans, and we have to adapt, and we have to adjust to them. And sometimes God has surprises in store for us when he changes our plans, and I think that was part of what he was doing this time. So the first place that I went, the only place that I went, was Sierra Leone, to Koidu City. This is, like I said, my third trip there to teach, and so I was going to teach Systematic Theology 1, which is about God and the Trinity, and also I was teaching an introduction to the New Testament. But so I got there. Go ahead. This is the guest house that I usually stay at when I go there. It's Uncle Ben's, and it's called Uncle Ben again because this was his second guest house. He sold the first one. He built this one. And when I got there, I had no room. Yeah. My host there, the guy who's in charge of the council there, had gone in that morning because we made a reservation and made sure. And he went in that morning and said, make sure everything, because last time when I got there, I didn't have a room. And they sent me, we found another place. And it was, what? Terrible. That's a good word for it. It was nasty. It's actually, I've stayed in some pretty bad places. This was the worst place I've ever stayed in my life. And I've stayed in some really bad places. Anyway, this time they didn't send me there. Uncle Ben has just opened up another hotel. And so they sent me over there to that one. And it was nice enough, but it was far away from where I needed to be. When I stay at this guest house, I can walk to the church I'm teaching at. It's literally down the street, and it's just around the corner from the restaurant, the only restaurant in that part of town. And so I couldn't walk to the church. And so Uncle Ben, he's a pastor, by the way. He's a pastor of a church there in Koidu City. And so he gave me a reduced rate at his new hotel to help pay for the transportation, because I was going to have to get on, well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But I was going to have to go back and forth. And so then he said, well, you know what, I'll come get you and I'll take you. And it's like he gave me the reduced rate, and then he was going to take me, come pick me up in his car and take me over to the church and all that. Well, he did that for exactly one day and decided, you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find him a room at the close place, okay? Because now it's affecting him now. So all of a sudden it was okay to find a room. Okay, this is, anyway, I had a room for the rest of the week there. For the week and a half I was there. This is the sign outside of the church. World Hope Ministries, this is our Bible Institute, tells you it's basically trying to attract attention. They don't understand attracting attention very well, because this is behind 3 buildings way off the street. Okay, it's like, you should put this out by the street. You're going to get more people that are asking questions about it, at least. But anyway, they put this sign out there where we were teaching. And this is a picture of the church that we meet at. It's a small church. It's been there for quite a while. It's a great church. The pastor's name is Micah Olali, and he is the head of the council for this institute, for that city. And he's been at the church for about 8 years now. He's actually from Nigeria, and he's come over to lead this church. And his wife passed away about 10 years ago. And when he came to Sierra Leone, he left his kids in Nigeria, and he has not seen his children for 8 years, because he can't afford to go back and to see them. But this is where he thinks God has him. His kids are basically grown now. They're in, I think one of them's getting ready, wants to start college, but they got to find funds. And so he just goes wherever God tells him to go, regardless of the cost. And for him, it's a very, very great cost. His kids were being raised by their aunts and uncles there in Nigeria. This is a picture of Micah. Go ahead. This is Micah, and I got to spend a lot more time with him this time than I have in the past 2 trips. Part of that is because I stayed longer, just trying to get the travel straightened out with things. I told you that he couldn't afford to travel to see his children, but there's more to it than that. There's a lot of days excuse me, that Micah doesn't eat. He doesn't have food to eat. There's a lot of other days where he has one meal. He'll have something for breakfast, but that's it. That's all he gets for the day. But he continues on. And that should teach us something. You know, we have it so easy here. And I've told y'all this before. When I go over there, a lot of times it's 100 and something degrees, and they're sitting, not here, but like in Cameroon, you know, the Walmart chairs. Everybody has Walmart chairs all over the world, right? I mean, they are stuffed as close together as you can get them. And I'll have 200 guys sitting there that are basically, you know, elbow to elbow, and their knees are hitting the chair in front of them. And you never hear a complaint. They're just so glad. And they feel so blessed that someone is there to share with them. And then, you know, you come back here, and if I don't set the temperature just right on the AC, oh, it's so cold. Oh, it's so hot. We've got it wrong. I mean, our comfort's great. That's all good and fine, but we've got our priorities wrong. We've got our priorities wrong. And it's something that we need to. It's every church in the United States, okay? Because we've had it so easy for so long that we don't even recognize that things don't always go right and that we need to just adjust. Okay? All right? So, anyway, Micah, he continues on regardless of whether, whether he's got food or not. And when I'm there, he eats, okay? I make sure of that, all right? Because he has to go with me everywhere. Like the first night when we went, there's one restaurant, and there's a whole story about that, but there's one restaurant, and he doesn't want to eat. And it's like, no, Micah, eat. It's like, no. Trust me, Micah, eat. Okay, to give you an idea, for Micah and I to eat, right, it was about 150 leones. Okay, that's $7 for both of us. Okay, and he's worried. It's like, no, eat, dude. Let me take care of you. Let me take care of you while I'm here. Okay, this is the church. This is Micah's church. Okay, this is some of the people that I was teaching. There you go. You got Walmart chairs, right? Okay, so this is just some of the people I taught. Introduction to New Testament and Systematic Theology 1, which is God and Trinity. That's always an interesting class trying to teach, to explain the Trinity, right? So I taught Thursday through Saturday, and we had a lot of fun. It did get hot. Going to the next one. It did get hot, and I don't know if you can see it, but I'm totally sweat through everything. I have to wear long sleeves because of the mosquitoes, and it's a big malaria area, and so, all my clothes are sprayed with stuff, and I take malaria meds when I go, so, but it does get very, very hot. But it's always a blessing, to me, to be able to go and to share with these pastors, with these church leaders. God blessed me with the opportunity to go to seminary, to get the education, and I want to share that blessing, that God provided for me. We need to share the things that God provides for us with those who don't have it. Okay, they don't have the opportunity over there. There are no seminaries in Sierra Leone. I don't think there's a seminary in Liberia. In Nigeria, there are some seminaries, but I wouldn't want my pastor going to those seminaries. Okay, there's the Baptist seminary there is good, but the rest of them, those people are just out of their minds. The things that they teach are just ridiculous. The next slide, there are two major modes of transportation. You either walk or you're on a moto. Got the little motorcycle there. Most of the time I'm walking, but sometimes, we're on a moto, okay? It's usually a cab kind of thing, where it's 5 leones to go pretty much anywhere in this part of town. So, 5 leones is like a nickel, to 20 cents, a quarter, to go anywhere on that part of town. But this particular moto was owned by one of the pastors that I was teaching. And so that was kind of nice. I didn't have to walk back and forth up the hill to the guest house. But that's what I usually do. Go ahead. It's not unusual to have 3 people on a moto. That's not unusual at all. Okay, but it must have been quite a sight when I had to change hotels, because I've got my suitcase, which, I guess it's about that long. Yeah, it's about that long, about that tall, and about that wide. So there's 3 of us and the suitcase on the motorcycle. And so it's sticking out the front off of the handlebars, and there's 3 of us on the back, and that's nothing. That's nothing. 3 people in a suitcase is nothing. The things I've seen these people carrying, they got glass panes that they'll carry over their head as they go down, mirrors, lumber. They'll carry lumber. They'll have 15-foot, 16-foot boards that they're carrying as they go. Huge bags of charcoal. I mean, the charcoal comes, they make charcoal, and it comes in these bags that are about this tall. They'll be carrying those on the motorcycle with him. You see 5 or 6 people on a motorcycle with their kids. You know, it's just amazing the things that happen with those little motorcycles. They're not very big. Go ahead. Show you what the money is. Okay, I've never shown you all this before. Sierra Leone, everything is cash. Okay, there are no credit cards, no debit cards, nothing like that. They have no infrastructure for that. And so everything is cash. And Leones are pretty much worth nothing. Okay, the biggest note that they have is a 20 Leone note. All right, a 20 Leone note is less than $1. And that's the biggest one they had. That's $300 right there. That's a 2-liter water bottle. So the water bottle is about this tall. This stack of money is about half of that bottle. That's $300 converted into Leones. And it makes it really tough to carry around enough money to pay for the hotel, you know, for 6 days, those kinds of things. That is 7,110 Leones. Okay? It's 23.7 this time. It was 23.7 Leones per dollar. And imagine counting out 2,700 Leones to pay for the hotel. 20 at a time. Okay, they're good at it. They take it, they fold it over, and they go, you know, because they do it all the time. But for me, my fingers don't work that way. These are the students that I taught. We had 29 students at this institute this time. And I taught here, like I said, Thursday through Saturday. And I just love these guys, you know, because, you know, the way I teach is different than most of the teachers. I go in and I teach the material and we talk about all that kind of stuff and we do that and then we get question and answer time. And they can ask me anything. And some of the questions I get are quite interesting. But it's great. I think it's helpful to them. And some of the questions are theological questions. Some of them are ecclesiastical. How do we do this in the church? Some of them are, how do I handle this with this couple that's having problems? What do I do? You know, they don't have mentors. They don't have people to learn from. And so I get to go over there and I get to interact with them quite a bit. And like I said, these guys were great. Sometimes I get really strange questions. You know, what do I do about holy oil? What do I do about holy water? What holy sand? Or a holy egg? It's amazing the things that have come up, and just in the different places that I've been. But here, these are the students. On Sunday, go ahead. On Sunday, I went to preach at one of the students' churches. The plan is that every trip that I make, I go to a different student's church, and I go preach at their church. And this one was about a 15-minute moto ride over to the church. It's a little under a year old, and they meet upstairs of what used to be the area's waterworks. Okay, before the Civil War, it was the central place for getting water. It was this huge well that was encompassed by this big wall. They met on the second floor of the building. It was treacherous getting up the stairs because it's been, you know, not used and in disrepair for many years now. But it's next to that abandoned well, which was really kind of interesting. There's all kinds of things growing in there and things slithering around that you just want to avoid. Yeah. And, well, hold on. It's before we, I got to remember which one. Yeah, before you switch. You know, for me, it's really great to be able to gather in different parts of the world to worship with people. You know, their worship is totally different than ours. It's like I tell the students, you know, if I took what we do over here over there, everybody would think we were out of our minds. Okay, and if I take what they do over there and bring it over here, everybody here would be like, these people are weird. Okay, but we're all just worshiping the Lord. And I think I've told the story before. It's probably been a long time, but I went to this symphony one time. It was the world premiere of a symphony that a guy here in San Antonio, the composer with the symphony here, wrote. And he was from Mexico. And the way the symphony worked was the first movement of the symphony was like any symphonic music, that what you think of when you think about symphonic music, right? It's all the European music, and it's, those kinds of things. The second movement was all mariachi music, okay? Because he's from Mexico, and he just, basically, it was just what it was like to walk around the plaza, because you have all these different mariachi bands. They're trying to get work. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're marriage bands. They're the bands you hire for weddings and stuff, and they're trying to get work. So as you're walking around, you get all these different mariachi bands that are playing different songs. And so he wrote that, okay, into the music. And then the third movement of it was something totally unexpected, is to take the music of the first part, which is, and the mariachi music, and to put them together and play them both at the same time. And it doesn't sound like it works, right? And normally it wouldn't, except that it was written to do that. Okay? And so there was a composer who put all these different kinds of music together, and what came out of the things that were put together was greater than either one of the individual things. That's my vision of heaven. We're going to have people from Africa that are worshiping. We're going to have people from Asia that are worshiping, which is really unusual because they don't even have the same octave that we do. People from South America, North America, people all over the world coming together with all their different music, all their different ways of worshiping. And it's going to be like something that you've never experienced before. It's going to be greater than the sum of the parts. Because there is a composer who is writing it and putting it together so that it flows. But anyway, go ahead on to the next one. It's great to worship with everybody. Oh, turn the sound on. We may not understand everything they're saying. That was in their tribal language, so I didn't understand what they were saying, but I'll tell you what, they were ready to worship the Lord. This is the pastor and his wife, and he goes, he said something about, oh, that's my wife over there. I said, well, I figured that, because, they're wearing the same clothes, which happens. And the thing that's really amazing is I took that tie, and it just goes right there with their outfit. And that's just God working. I preached on Zacchaeus, and you saw the little kids over off on the side. I had asked Micah, I said, do they know the Zacchaeus song? Okay, because they're English. Sierra Leone is English, and it's like, do they? He goes, oh yeah, they know the Zacchaeus song. Well, after watching their worship, being there for that, I said, they don't know the Zacchaeus song at all. And that was really the introduction to my sermon. And so what I did was I got down with the kids. There were 4 or 5 kids, and I said, I'm going to teach y'all a song. And so I taught them the little Zacchaeus song, Wee Little Man and all that. And that was my introduction. And so now they know the Zacchaeus song. And they know the story of Zacchaeus. So that was a lot of fun. So anyways, this is through Sunday. Sunday night, don't want to tell that now? No, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, that's what I did through Sunday. Monday and Tuesday, I taught a makeup class. Because when I went for the first time over there, there were 4 or 5 people who were not there who signed up after the first session. And in order for them to be able to graduate in 4 years, they need the classes for the first 2 classes, the class on soteriology and hermeneutics. So this time I taught a makeup class on soteriology, which is the doctrine of salvation. And these were my students. There were 4 of them, and then Micah's in there for the makeup class. And next trip, I'll teach hermeneutics and catch these guys up, and everybody will be caught up. So go ahead. On every trip, there are reminders that you have to remain flexible. Every trip. On the last trip that I went, there was the issue with the hotel for the first night, right, where I ended up in that nasty place. And when the same kind of thing happened to me this time, I figured that was that. Okay, so we're done with that for the trip. But no, not at all. That Sunday, March the 30th, was Eid al-Fitr. Eid al-Fitr is a Muslim holiday. It is the end of Ramadan, okay? The end of all the fasting that goes along with Ramadan. And all the families, they all get together, and there's these huge celebrations, which is great, except that most of the city shuts down, okay, including every restaurant and all of the little food stalls, because there's one restaurant there, but they've got little food stalls everywhere. Every 20 feet, there's somebody selling corn or a fish or chicken or just something. But they all closed down. Here when we have fiesta, right? It's food everywhere. You can't miss it, right? Over there, everybody celebrates with their family, and nothing is open. So Sunday night, the girl who runs the restaurant, the only one, okay, said that she would come in and make food for me, because I didn't have any place to go. Okay? But when we got to the restaurant Sunday night, she wasn't there. So I had no food, and I hadn't eaten lunch because I didn't get back from church until after 2 o'clock. And so I hadn't eaten. And, normally there's food stalls everywhere. So it's like, okay, well, I'll just walk down the street and I'll get, corn or something. Well, Mike and I walked around for more than an hour before we found a place that actually had something to eat. I mean, they were selling fruit. So I got bananas for dinner. And you know what? I was so happy. I was so hungry. That was my Sunday dinner. But God provided. Praise God, because that was the only food stall that was open. Wednesday came, and it was time to leave Sierra Leone to head to Liberia, okay, to go to the 50 students that are waiting for me to teach there on Thursday. And my driver was supposed to pick me up at 11 o'clock, and it's a 5-hour drive to the airport. So he was supposed to pick me up at 11 o'clock for a 6:40 flight. He picked me up a little after 1. Okay? There's more to the story here. As we're leaving, he's like, oh, by the way, this lady called, and she needs a ride to the place, to basically one of the little towns that we go to on the way to the airport, because her daughter had passed away. Okay, and they were Muslim, and so she needed to get there because when you die, you get buried that day. So needed to get her there. Well, that's fine, except that we're already 2 hours late. Okay, so we went to go pick her up. She wasn't ready. And so finally, after waiting for her for about 20 minutes, it's like, I'm sorry, we can't do this. I've got a flight to catch, and they don't care. So we took off, and we drove for about 15 minutes, and he got a call, and she called him, and she was crying and all this kind of stuff. So we turned around, and we went back, and she met us about halfway. We got her in there, and he drove very, very fast to get to the airport, okay? We got there at 5:30 for my 6:40 flight. Unfortunately, they closed the check-in at 5:20. So I missed my flight. Okay. And this picture here, this is me and Micah and I, as I'm getting ready to go inside to check in. And I'm smiling there. Well, I wasn't smiling so much when I came out. Okay, I had to call Micah to come back because I'm begging him to let me on the plane. I'm up at the gate, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. You know, it's still over an hour. Well, we closed the check-in early because the flight came in early. It's like, what? Anyway, they wouldn't let me on the flight. Okay, so I wasn't really happy. I had to call Micah to come back and to get me. Okay, I had to call Isaac, my contact in Liberia, to not come pick me up at the airport because it's a 2-hour drive to the airport for my hour. And it's an hour flight over there, but it's 2 hours to drive from Monrovia out to the airport. Had to call the travel agent to see what I could do, you know, because there's only 2 flights a week that I can leave on. And so Wednesday night, I can't get out. The next time I can get out is Friday on this same flight, Friday at 6:40. But the problem is then I don't get into Liberia to Monrovia and back to the hotel and all that until 10 o'clock Friday night, and I can only teach on Saturday. So it's like I can't teach 2 classes. I can't teach 15 hours for each class in one day. It's not going to happen. And so it's like we had to cancel the class. And so there's 50 students that are going to be sitting there on Thursday morning waiting for me when they find out I'm not coming. And it really irritated me. I mean, it really irritated me. I've told some of you that this is the first time in my life I have ever missed a flight, ever. In all the traveling that I've done all over the world and all the business travel I did when I had my business and all that, I have never missed a flight. I've missed connections, but I can't do anything about that. Never missed a flight until this one. And I was not a happy camper, okay? So I had to call the travel. We had to work, and then it's going to cost me an extra $500 to get home. And anyway, I lost my deposit at the hotel in Liberia, and part of the money was spent because the driver, they were already on the way to the airport because something was wrong with Isaac's phone. Anyway, remember what I said about being flexible, right? Okay, you have to be flexible because things happen. You never know. You never know what God has in store for you. Okay? You know, my last trip, I had the hotel problem on the last day where they gave my room away on the last night because Micah didn't understand how hotels work. You know, they said 11 o'clock was checkout. He was thinking, 11 p.m. Okay, so and then we were going to drive. So anyway, we found a place to stay near the airport last time. So what we did when I missed my flight was we went back to that place, right? But they didn't have any water, and they didn't have any electricity. And so it's going to be 2 days. If it was just overnight, it's no big deal, but I'm going to be stuck there for 2 days. And so I can't do without water and stuff for 2 days. And anyway, so the manager at that hotel that one was actually a hotel, knew a guest house that I could go stay at. And so we drove over there. And after a lot of negotiation, I had a place to stay for the 2 nights. And it was nice enough. Go ahead. This is the outside of it. I mean, it was really a nice place. I was the only one staying at the guest house. And so it was really kind of interesting. I got to know the manager very, very well. I got to spend some time with him. And go ahead. This is Bakar. That's the manager. And that's his wife. After breakfast on Thursday morning, he had to take some eggs to his wife. Okay? And so he asked if I wanted to go, and we got on the moto, and off we went. You know, a lot of times when we go to these places, you know, we zip in and we zip out, right? We drive past everything. But this time I was kind of stuck there. And so I was the only one there. He asked me to go with him, and so I went, and we hiked out to the street, and we caught a moto, and 10 minutes later we were at his house, and I got to meet his wife, and I got to meet neighbors, and his youngest son here is Henry, cool little kid. Okay, and I met some of his neighbors in the next picture. This is people. They're doing their wash. They're washing the dishes. This is washing the dishes in the courtyard right next to Bakar's house. They wash them outside in the compound. Go ahead. This is a little boy. Amanetta thought it would be really funny because this boy was scared of me. So she went and she grabbed him and drug him over to me. And he was just so scared. His name is Sorry, okay, which is an interesting thing to name your baby, isn't it? Sorry, Sorry. And anyway, normally with the little kids, what you can do is if you'll get down on their level, first of all, you got to do that. But then if you take their picture and you show them their picture on your phone, normally they're like, and this kid didn't want anything to do with this white man. It was the first white man he'd ever seen in his life. He didn't want anything to do with me. And he was just funny. He just really didn't want to be there. Go ahead. This is the compound where Bakar lives. There's a house there, and then back behind it, there's like a row house. And he lives in one of the apartments in the row house. He and his wife and their 2 kids in a little one-room place back there. Go ahead. This is walking out to the street from the compound. We actually walked past this structure here, which is a parking lot for cars. Okay, a lot of times, I was saying that we just pass through. We don't really get to know the local people. I get to know the pastors, or at least some of them, but we really don't see how they live, and we really don't see, we really don't get to interact with them a lot, with anybody but the pastors, because we're spending all day with them. But on the way back from taking the eggs to his house, we were walking along, and Bakar said that he had some people he wanted me to meet. Okay, and so as we're walking along, on the right-hand side of the road, there was this little store, and we stopped to meet this lady here. Go ahead. And her name is Zizi. Okay, Zizi, the way that Bakar described her, she is a woman of prayer and an evangelist. And she works that neighborhood. She works that whole area. And so it was really great that I got to meet her. And I hope that I was an encouragement to her, as I was, praying for her. And great lady. So I got to meet her, and I prayed for her and her mission. And really, I hope that I was an encouragement to her. This one, this is Gladys. Go ahead. Gladys is the second one from the right, and that's her assistant on the right-hand side, and this is a couple of the kids that she takes care of. She runs this charity home that's right over by the guest house that I was staying at, and again, I pray that I was an encouragement to her as she cares for these children that are in great need, because if they think that you're in need over there, you are in need, okay? The guest houses, they usually have breakfast. Okay, that's it. They don't. A lot of the guest houses, they really don't even have kitchens in them. They'll cook the food somewhere else and bring it. So they only have breakfast. So Thursday night, I've got no food again. Okay, and Bakar went and he got me some bread. He went out and he walked down to the street and took a little moto and came back with some rolls so that I would have something to eat, and I greatly appreciate that since I didn't have anything since breakfast. Okay. Friday morning, Bakar told me that his wife had called him and that her malaria had flared up, and she was in very desperate need, and would I go with him to take her to the hospital? And so I was like, sure, I'll go. So we walked down to the street, and we got on the moto, and she did not want to go to the hospital. Did not want to go. And so while Bakar argued with her and tried to convince her to go and got the neighbors to try to convince her to go, I just kind of sat there and watched the things going on in the courtyard. Go ahead. And this little girl and the other one behind her, they belong to the house in the compound. And I got to to mess with her for a little while and go ahead. And then this is her just sitting there looking at me like, you're an idiot, you know. And you see the guy in the back? Okay, that's a teenager, the teenage boy. And his mother lives in the house there. And it was really kind of interesting. I've seen it before, but to know that teenagers are the same everywhere. Okay, his mother was sweeping up the courtyard, and she told him to go sweep up the courtyard. Said, you take over. You sweep all this up. And I knew every facial expression he made. I knew every gesture that he made. I knew every sound that he made because I had experienced every one of them with my son and with some of y'all's kids as well when I was doing the youth. So Bakar's wife, her malaria was really bad. So they finally convinced her to go to the hospital. And so we're walking out because we have to walk up to the street in order to get any kind of transportation. And as we're walking out of the compound, she turned around and went back home, said, I am not going. Okay, so she obviously wasn't going to go, and so we started back to the guest house. And so before we started back, I'm praying for her, okay? And she was healed before I got back. Along the way, it's God that takes care of those things, not me. But along the way, we stopped so that Bakar could arrange for a car to come pick me up from the guest house. And this is a taxi stand, basically, at the market. You got like 20 of these motos just sitting there. They drive up and down the street all the time, but this was just a congregating place there by the market, kind of a taxi stand kind of thing. And then finally, I had somebody come pick me up, and we went to the airport. Finally, this is me. 2 days after I originally got to the airport, I finally got on a plane, and I headed home. And I got home 2 days early, but I think I was much richer. Much richer for having been able to spend the time with the local people. You know, we travel and we go places and we just sometimes forget why. And I think, you know, on this trip, I think God just wanted to point out, you know, the people that are being impacted when I go and teach the pastors. And to remind me, you know, that there's people everywhere who need the Lord. There's people who worship everywhere. And also to remind me that my plans are my plans, and His plans are the plans.